What a surprise! It appears Prince William and Prince Harry's relationship is at an all-time low.
And Prince Harry contradicts himself again and blows up his own PR yet again.
Pause, compose, reach for sick bucket, and here we go.
Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, your go-to for insight and opinion on two of the most talked about royal couples from both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield and I'll be bringing you updates on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, this time from the East Coast.
Well, I'm in the UK. I've just hot-footed it back from Germany, where I was watching some show jumping, but I couldn't get away from the new royal news. There's been so much of it, particularly centering around the Prince and Princess of Wales, and Harry is interloping as well.
Interloping. Gosh, so over him. Because of so much Prince Harry news this week. Unfortunately, our Prince William news is also related to Prince Harry. So we'll start with a Vanity Fair piece. An old acquaintance of the Duke's said that Harry has high hopes for a long-term reconciliation with his father, King Charles, and is already making plans to bring his wife, Meghan Markle, and their children back to Britain. The source told Katie Nichol it pains him that Archie and Lili don't know their grandfather. One of his biggest regrets is that his grandmother, the Queen, didn't spend more time with his children. He's keen that he doesn't have the same regrets with his father. Their relationship is at an all-time low. This is regarding Harry and William. And Katie says that this source knows both of the brothers well. It's as if something has pushed William even further away from the prospect of a reconciliation. He is adamant that he wants nothing to do with his brother. He is more upset with him than ever. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because you guys won't shut your talking mouths, Rupert.
Well, we're a couple of minutes in, and you've proved you've got a potty mouth, Kinsey. So straight in. I'm even a demure West Coast girl, and then suddenly language, real Anglo-Saxon coming out. Anyway,
48 hours in New York, Rupert, and I'm an entirely different woman.
well, I'll be an entirely different man. I got 10 days in New York, so God knows what I'm going to come out like. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, this is. I mean, I've been reading all this Harry stuff this week and his relationship with his dad and all this, going to see him, which is great. Don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But they managed to work it out. 57 minutes, so it wasn't exactly that long. And had how quickly did they get beyond the small talk? But what I didn't want to think was that, we'd hear chapter and verse again.
And don't worry, we do because I've got new details that I haven't even sent you yet that we'll read over here in a second. Hey guys, I want to take a minute to tell you about a brand I really love, Peak. They're reimagining wellness with science-backed tea crystals and superfood blends made with the cleanest ingredients. Everything they create is designed to make daily rituals simple and effective, whether for gut health, radiant skin, steady energy, or just to make you feel your best. For me, hydration was always tricky. I drank plenty of water, tried different electrolytes, and even used the right skincare, but still had dry skin, brain fog, and trouble sleeping. That changed with Peak's deep hydration protocol. In the morning, I take BT Fountain, the beauty electrolyte. It hydrates from within, smooths skin, and gives steady energy. At night, I wind down with RE Fountain, the calming electrolyte, which has a form of magnesium that melts tension and helps me sleep deeply without grogginess. What I love the most is how clean it is. No sugar, fillers, or artificial flavors, just ingredients like lemon juice and beetroot. Within a week, my skin looked more hydrated, my focus was sharper. I just felt better. If you want to give it a try, I've got a special link in the show notes for you, 20% off for life, plus a free gift with my link, peaklife.com/Kinsey. That's PIQUE life.com/Kinsey. Now back to the show. So do you think that when you hear that story from Vanity Fair that it's at an all-time low, instinctually, do you feel like, yeah, it's at an all-time low because Prince Harry can't keep his trap shut?
Well, that's the problem. And
Yeah.
that it always has been a problem. And now he's saying, that it's his truth and his truth is the right truth. But we've always said, he doesn't see the big picture. He only sees things from his perspective. And he's got his wife in his ear, sort of drumming home his view version of the events. So he never gets to hear and put a separate perspective on it. And then, that's what I do think it is an all-time low. And obviously there is a reflection in that article saying, that it's not easy and that he's thinking of his dad now. But it all just feels that he's trying too hard. Now,
Do you
what
believe
he did last,
do you believe that his heart is with his father, or do you believe that he recognizes that one of the major reasons that he's being rejected popularity wise is because of the way he treated the British royal family? So he's trying to look like he's in with them again to elevate himself, to elevate his brand, and to attract new opportunities for himself.
oh, absolutely. This is because obviously the brand of Duke and Duchess of Montecito has had a bit of a hit of late. And so they've got to look and be able to reacquaint themselves with the thing that gives them all the cachet. There's
Mhm.
no two ways about it. That is what they need. That's their, uh, you know, that's the oxygen that gives them hope to make money. So without that, they are nothing. It's as simple as that, and him going and saying, opening up the doors again and seeing and doing his quasi-royal tour last week. Look, there was some good work done. I'm not, we got to say he gave a lot of money to children in need, Invictus Games, the World Child. You have to just say that's fine. That's what he was doing, and went down well once he could get there because of all the tube strikes and everything going on. Everyone seemed quite happy. Then he shoots off to Ukraine, having seen his dad for just 50 odd minutes, which, I mean, I don't know. When you families get together, the first sort of hour when they do, you do the small talk. It's when you sit round dinner that the sort of, then it all comes
Firework.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, then the family fireworks start. I'm not speaking from experience here, but I would suggest that's what every family does. Oh, hello, lovely to see you, and then it suddenly goes like the other way. But anyway, I would suggest 54 minutes isn't long. They had a cup of tea, off he goes. Then he goes off to Ukraine, which takes some organized with the blessings of the British government.
Are you
Because
sure?
bearing in mind,
Because are you sure that he had the blessings of the British government? Because the Daily
it's
Beast
a
is reporting
foreign.
he did not.
Well, given the fact that the new foreign secretary was on the trip, it presumably meant that it was, sanctioned. They
That's
could have
insane though,
said,
because then that looks like he is representing the
yeah.
UK, and that is a
Well,
that is such
he
an
was he was going on the Invictus Games angle, which, given what's going on in Ukraine, and they are Um, they see the Invictus Games as a wonderful opportunity to help rehabilitate the numerous servicemen and women who've been injured, all Ukrainians who've been injured. So I'm just going to put that aside. And okay, but it did overshadow the new Foreign Secretary's trip. So how pleased she is with that, I don't know. Has it highlighted and given Invictus Games a boost? Probably has. But
I
it
don't think
is.
it has. You know why? Because of this new interview he did. Because it was
Okay.
a week of everybody saying this was such a successful trip for Prince Harry. Prince Harry is back. And then he gives this one interview where he takes no accountability. And I think he's exploded everything in taking no accountability. I think that we're talking about Ukraine because we have to talk about a week's worth of activities right now. But I think most people today are talking about that Prince Harry interview.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. And I looked at it and read it in the Guardian where it came, which isn't always a paper that would be taking the royal, not naturally a supporter of the royal family, and it's a bit puffy, but it's complimentary to him in a way. I'm
Yeah,
sort of
but he's
reading
not a
between.
representative of the
Mm,
royal family
yeah,
anymore. So maybe that's why they're taking his side because he's the royal rebel.
well, yes, and that would fit the agenda more or less of that particular paper, The Guardian, which is a long established, always been seen as left-leaning, more liberal, and that's fine. The place for everything in this world. But when it comes to Harry and his week in this country, were they surprised that they got together, the King and Prince Harry? Well, we surprised rather. I think probably it blindsided us a bit, but I'm delighted they did. But at the time, my immediate thought was, now shut up,
Yeah.
do
Oh,
this, be quiet,
yep.
and go away, and without saying anything. But immediately he's highlighted the issues that, yes, it's all about his dad, but it's not about his brother, which accentuates the rift between the two brothers. And he, unless he's incredibly stupid, okay, he has played it wrong again. And I'm
Yes.
sorry. And he's blaming us again. He's blaming the British press.
So you made the perfect segue into our next topic. Before we get into what he said in that interview, let's talk about what's been leaked about his meeting with his father. Because like you said, you were like, okay, that's fine. Meet your dad. That's good. Everybody should, you know, we want peace and we want peace everywhere. However, the tap is leaking. Here's what we know according to sources closest to the Sussex talking to Page Six here in the States. Harry was smiling ear to ear after seeing his dad, who he said was doing great. Sources told Page Six Prince Harry was keen to update his dad, King Charles, on his two kids during their long awaited reunion. Prince Harry was eager to show King Charles pictures. So he came, like the headline is Prince Harry eager to show his kids pictures, and then they talked about how he was packed with video and pictures of Archie and Lili to show King Charles. And according to Us Weekly, and just a friendly reminder that when Meghan Markle and Harry did not like what the Hollywood Reporter said about Meghan, they gave their employees permission to talk to Us Weekly magazine and to try to, dismiss all of the allegations the Hollywood Reporter made about Meghan Markle being difficult to work with and a bully. So Us Weekly has this exclusive that Harry wrote a handwritten letter earlier this year expressing his desire to reconnect with his father. The source says they were not sure it was going to happen until just in the last week. And the outlet claimed on Sunday, calling the meeting super positive and very relaxed. They were catching up personally about the children and what has been going on with Charles and his health. I highly doubt the king was too open with Harry about what's going on with him health-wise because Harry clearly can't keep his freaking mouth shut. They were reportedly, get your gag reflex ready here, hugs and tears. Hugs and tears. And the mood was genuine and positive. The insider added, they shared a long hug when they first saw each other. Harry started crying because he's a you-know-what. Harry started crying, according to Harry's sources, and it was very
Oh,
emotional for both of them. They really missed each other, says the source. It was chosen because it was this where they met, Clarence House. It was chosen because it was an intimate, less formal atmosphere compared to Buckingham Palace. They wanted an intimate setting to ease back into their personal connection without any pressure.
pause, compose, reach for sick bucket, and here we go. I mean, I'm afraid he's where's that come from? The only way that's come from, the king's not going to say that to anybody.
Yeah, Harry cried when he saw me. No.
No, no, I mean that they don't do anything. There's only one way that if there's anything that's come out, it's probably it's they've gone and bleating to someone. They've probably given a version and say a version. They've probably embellished it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure they did hug because that's what you when you see your father. Yeah. Well, I don't stiff up a lip. There's some of us of a generation where you didn't have a lot of that around, but don't feel sorry for me. But it's
I
just the
hug
way
you.
it
I
was.
hug you when
It
I
was a
see you.
well, that's not very often, but but the point being, I can't believe that they're telling that kind of information, or somehow someone has written that thinking that that is what's going on. I'm sure they got round, they probably met and they might have hugged. Thank you very much. Then they talked. I'm sure he would have shown them pictures. He got his phone out and gone, here we go, look at this, look at Archie, look at Lilibet. This is where they're living, whatever, I'm sure. And then move on. And then that's the 57 minutes. So I think tears, no. I don't, I just don't see that as being what happened. Now, of course, we don't know. Of course, it's an element of speculation. But the only one who's probably trying to make it look how emotional it was, it's coming from Harry's side.
Yeah.
And he may be emotional, but he's created the problem for all this emotion. It's his doing. And this is the problem. He doesn't see, he thinks it's all their fault, the royal family's fault. That he's the victim here.
Still.
And I
No.
and he's still playing the victim. And he still wants them to apologize. And he still says it's his own truth. Well, we can pick holes in everything in Spare. We can start with this false wedding they had and Meghan's idea that you have to tell the truth to everybody. Because
Mm.
that's what he said. Wasn't that quote something I
Yeah,
misquote?
well, I have that down below. We'll get to that in a
Well,
second.
so I'm afraid is that new article you've just found, and because I haven't seen that, and it's just, I mean, I just can't believe it. I'm slightly slurring and staggering for words here because that is tosh.
It's an audacity that like we don't see very often. Somebody so willing to lie to lie to us. My argument is that I feel like this reunion is more for publicity, more for positive press, more to change public perception. And I think that that's why these details are going to a US grocery store tabloid magazine over somebody somewhere
Well,
in the UK. I think that their priority remains impressing the US. Do you feel that way as
well,
well?
that's where their commercial market is. I'm not going to say that it's designed entirely for publicity's sake, because I'm sure Harry would want to be and see his father when he's in town. But as I've always said, we do not need to hear anything of the meeting. And if there's a grain of truth in this article, someone has told that reporter what happened and has gone, oh, it was an emotional moment back home. He's got back to California and he's spoken to somebody. Maybe, we remember the picture when we saw the PR teams getting together. So it may be that's part of that was to say, right, next in town, let's see if we can create a chance for Harry to see his dad. But now I'm sure the royal PR team are saying, oh my God, here we go again.
Yeah.
Because we've got his versions. We'll never hear the King's versions. He's now back in Scotland. Oh, I mean, okay, no, he's going to have to be quite busy this week for your leader coming to our country. And so, that is all. Um, I just, it beggars belief that he would have the wherewithal, because obviously that's expanded on what was said in the Guardian article, which talks about, it was great that he was seeing his dad and reconnecting and wants to, it's all about my dad from here on in. I'm stunned.
It's so disrespectful. It's so disrespectful.
Yeah,
And it's like, you know, why the Queen wanted protection around you or needed witnesses when you and
yeah,
Meghan were around. It's because of this exact thing, because she didn't want you guys walking away and selling the story, selling the scoop. And I'm
yeah.
not suggesting he's selling anything, but I do think that the ultimate objective is making a buck because you're
Mm.
trying to use this peace deal as a way to soften public perception of you.
Yeah, and what do we see? An Instagram picture of her promoting one of her products,
Hmm.
right? And that puts the commercial side of it. Why does she even need to? But it was actually, it was a really naff photograph. He two glasses of a rose, sort of saying, what is my beau is back or something. I don't know. Well, I mean, people post things, but we know that that's posted for commercial reasons to sell more bottles of that rose. Whole thing is staged, managed to create brand Sussex look like they're the center of the piece again when they
100%.
haven't been, because they've had all these negative, well, she's had negative vibes from her latest season 2 of with Dross from Meghan. or whatever it's called. I'm trying to expunge it from my memory, but I have to say, it's frustrating because you really do want the family to get back together again. But this, from William's perspective, and he was on his sort of PR mission last week of doing stuff. We knew it, we talked about it last week. There was going to be a bit of a PR way, but it was always going to be Harry was going to upstage his brother. But William has just had to take that in his stride and go, right, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing the homeless thing. I've done other things. And Kate, we seem to be taking more time worrying about, well, there seemed to be a lot of response of just how brilliant she was at tying a hair in a bun, as if that was the greatest thing that ever happened.
I still had people messaging me, like people that I thought would be above this conversation, messaging
Mm.
me, asking me if she had hair extensions or if she was wearing a halo top. And I was like, I really don't believe so. I really do not believe so. And so I was so glad when she had that moment because I just grabbed that clip and sent it on. I was like, I got to a point where I stopped responding to people that were messaging me about her hair. And so I just grabbed that little clip and I sent it on and I was like, see? That's
See,
her
and
real hair.
quite and not stupid of her, because that nipped, as you've just confirmed, the wig rumours into a cocked hat.
Hmm.
Because I'm not sure you can probably do that with a wig, can you? Well, it would sort of move around, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it would jeopardize the placement, and if you
Yeah,
have extensions, it would be harder to do that. And you might
yeah,
pull them out. But yeah, and then but we just saw a
yeah.
lot. And anyway, I can't believe we're having all
Yeah.
this. I mean,
Well, I know. Well, I can't believe I'm talking about hair extensions. Purely disappointed that you haven't given us a masterclass in tying your hair up in a bun. But
no,
as you
I'm not.
say,
Yeah, I have. I don't.
spent a few.
I don't go on camera on set for another 2 hours, so I'm just trying to. I don't want to mess up this hair that I paid for. So let's talk about the article you've referenced in The Guardian.
Mm.
Here are some quotes, and I love your reaction to them. I don't believe that I aired my dirty laundry in public. First reaction to that. Hogwash?
Um, Hogwash.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yeah, I want to swear, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be
That's a
the I'll
load.
be the
That's
naughty girl. I'll wait till you get to New York until you
well, that
tell
yeah,
me
well,
about.
that's oh, it's not. How does he even think that that is right?
Yeah.
Of course, he aired everything. I mean, even to discussing his private parts. I'm sorry. He is he just so stupid at times, and that is confirmation. When you've written Spare, you've done a documentary. The whole thing was popping at your family. His truth, my truth. There are always two sides to every coin.
Yeah.
It's not his. You're not the only one here. The versions and blaming the British press. Sorry, no, we can probably pick holes. We could do a program and just go, that's not true, that's not true. Why did the Queen say recollections may vary? We know that their version of events is sometimes is so divorced from the reality of what actually happened in the moment.
I love that idea, or I love that saying, divorce from reality. Okay, so Harry says it was a difficult message, but I did it in the best possible way. My conscience is clear. I felt like there were a million other ways to do whatever it is he thinks he's done, but I don't think he did it in the best possible way. And don't forget, he specifically told Oprah, as if trying to justify this, he specifically told Oprah that the only reason that he took a deal with Netflix and with Penguin Random House and with Spotify, he says like, "Oh, I did these big deals because I needed to pay, I needed to make money for my family." Like I don't think that he did them in the best possible way. I think he did it. I think what he did was he took the easy route. He took the easy route and did not really process what the consequences would be. He says that there's no like he's not a vengeful person, but watch the Oprah Winfrey interview. Meghan more so than Harry. Those are two very angry people.
Oh, he's been angry since the moment he left. And now he's trying to make it sound, well, actually, I didn't mean to. What I said was the truth. It's almost as like he's trying to forget what he was saying at the time, and he's actually saying, almost forgetting he did it. You
Hmm.
get the sense. But we know that it was spiteful. It was designed for commercial reasons. So he's got to be tell you as he sees it, warts and all. And the documentary, on the getting texts from his family, and then saying, "Oh, look at that." I mean, it's just absolute codswallop from him again.
Mm.
I'm trying to use every strong word without using a a English swear word. So I've given you
Fudge.
codswallop now. I've given you
I think he's
codswallop
full
now.
of fudge. I think he's full of fudge. Harry
Yeah.
insists that speaking out wasn't a matter of stubbornness, saying it is having principles. It is not about revenge, it is about accountability. You cannot have reconciliation before you have truth. Well, I constantly say I'm trying to hold these two accountable, and with Harry, when it comes to Harry and Meghan, I'm trying to hold them accountable because I think he's a liar.
Well, we know recollections may vary, and he says things that leaves everyone within the royal family scratching their heads because they know the reality of the situation. And you know the reality on the ground in California. They are a couple that create problems, and they have created the problems. Up until he met Meghan, he was fine. Meghan comes in the season in a picture, charging in like a bull in a china shop into his life. Fine. He is then in headlights, absolutely struck with lust and love, maybe, I don't know. Away he goes. And then you think,
You
oh
actually
my,
do know you actually do know it was lust because he writes about it in Spare.
yeah.
Remember how he
Well,
talks
but
about like her
okay, but
opening the hotel room door and like, woo, okay.
well, okay, too much information. We do not need to know. So therefore, but when people couples get together, that's quite often what the way it kicks off, and then you've got to work out whether you actually can then live each other once that bit's gone through. This is family advice here from Rupert Bell. But anyway, back to Harry. I'm afraid, again, his version of events do not com compare with what he's been saying recently. And that statement, it is so, it leaves me going, what, why, how does he not, why hasn't that person who's written the article not gone, well, hang on, you did say, what's the version of the wedding
Hmm.
when you suddenly said you were married 2 days before?
Yeah.
Have you always told the truth? I mean, that is one example,
Why
probably, of
didn't you challenge Prince Harry's comment to Tom Bradby when Harry said that they never called a member of the British royal family racist? I mean, we all live in a post Y2K society where that journalist can pull out their cell phone and pull up a clip of
yeah.
Meghan Markle saying they were making a comment about the child's skin color, accusing the royal family of not giving Archie a prince title because of his skin color. I mean, there are so many things that they've lied about in the past. Okay, here's another quote. The book, it was a series of corrections to stories already out there. One point of view had been put out and it needed to be corrected. We didn't like a lot we didn't know you had a fight with Prince William that turned physical and a dog brawl broke and he broke your necklace. You added new details. What is he correcting when he writes in his book that Prince William's no longer the handsome son, that Prince William no longer has his mother's looks and that he's balding? That is a nasty book. That and he's not correcting a narrative by telling us that his brother's balding.
Yeah, no, I mean so the whole thing is a vicious attack, particularly at his brother. The jealousy is writ large. Now it may be, well, I don't know the entire reasons for the breakdown of the relationship, but the words were is that William said right from the get-go, just like his grandmother, this ain't, are you sure?
At the beginning, he said, slow down. You don't have to
Mm,
move so fast. But
yeah,
then he said, we're purging staff because of your wife's behavior.
yeah,
So we know that there was a transition where initially he was like, just pump the brakes. You
yeah,
don't have to jump into a marriage with this woman. We realize she's hooking it towards 40, and already been married, but you don't have to, bulldoze your way through this marriage. Um, But inevitably, the argument really becomes that William believes reports that Meghan is acting ugly to staff. And I bet you would believe it if you literally were working with somebody one day and the next day they quit. And it's not like that in that environment. People usually are there because they love the British royal family and they put up with a lot of junk.
Well, no, it's not. I'm sure it's not. Working within the royal household is would be fraught with difficulties at times, and you are managing people who are used to having everything done, from morning, noon, and night. They never know, they can't suddenly say, right, I'm off to the supermarket without it being a kerfuffle. So it is, but that goes with the territory of being in the royal family. But for Harry and Meghan to even suggest that they are the only ones telling the truth, which is what Harry is trying to confirm in his latest thing, that he is the right and they are wrong. The British press wish them failure and everything. No, we're hearing these things, so we're only reporting what we know in a way, and probably are not telling it 100% because we can't. I'm not allowed to, and that's fine. I understand that. But we know the real story. And it is sad that Harry, suddenly thinks, he probably came back and he thinks, oh, I'm the darling, and probably felt because he's been glad-handed by all these charities, saying, lovely to see you. He actually hasn't sort of stood back and said, right, I'll give it a couple of weeks and just review what going on. No, he's done it straight away. He's
Idiot.
gone straight in and misread it again and sort of think that I will get them to come round to my way of thinking. There's an element of trying to say, well, it's my way or no way, and you need to say sorry. But he needs to learn to say sorry.
Yeah.
But I think we're bashing our head against a brick wall as far as that's concerned, because it just won't come.
You're so right. Let's now I just want to say for the record, I am about to read some of Tom Sykes' writing. I don't endorse everything Tom Sykes says from the Daily Beast. I don't endorse a lot of what Tom Sykes says from the Daily Beast. But I did love this headline and article. Prince Harry idiotically doubles down on attacks on his family in new interview. And I'm just going to read you some of these, and some of these pieces in his article, and I'd love your reaction. Prince Harry has just made what I consider to be the unbelievably stupid decision to double down on the scathing criticism he made of his family in his memoir Spare and his Netflix show Harry and Meghan, and has once again demanded accountability on the part of his birth family. One ask from the king's side, and he's talking about the meeting. One ask from the king's side in connection with the meeting was a period of silence on the issue of the family's interpersonal relations from Harry afterwards. I mean, look at us, Rupert. We already have way,
Mm.
way too many details. So Harry must have been like, no, he literally meant just a moment of silence. That's a period
Well,
moment. I'll give it 36 minutes. Harry, who infuriated the king's aides in May when he told the BBC he didn't know how much longer his father had to live, also seemed to hint again at the king being seriously ill, saying that over the coming year, the focus really has to be on my dad. Does it remind you of when he talked to Hoda Kotb um, on the Today Show here in the United States, and he said that he wanted to protect his grandmother. He was worried about the people around his grandmother. It's like, again, I know I've said this to you before, but too little, too late. Like, oh, I'm worried. It's the focus is on my dad. I'm worried about my dad. Sit your ass down. Like you're not a part of the equation anymore.
and also, yeah, focus on your dad. Don't tell us about your meetings with your dad. Let your dad deal with whatever he's got. He's got a busy enough job trying to be the king. It's complicated times at the moment, and he's got a lot going on. Not only continuing his treatment, but also a lot of duties within his function as head of state here, as we know. Just leave him to get on with it, but without adding a soap opera element to it. just shut the F up.
Yeah. Okay, now to your point,
Is that all right? Is that all
yeah,
right?
no, you're
You
good.
know?
To your point, Tom
Yeah.
Sykes says any media trainer worth their salt would have advised Harry to deflect these
Yes.
questions. And his responses are likely to leave his PR team, who know that remarks about the world's most famous family feud will completely overshadow not only the work he was doing in Ukraine with wounded soldiers, but also the great strides made in improving his own image globally this week. He accused, you mentioned this earlier, certain elements of the press of falsely claiming he is down or not smiling. He then said, "This comes from people who think they know what I am thinking and how I am feeling. They are wrong. I think parts of the British press want to believe that I am miserable, but I'm not. I'm very happy with who I am, and I like the life that I live." In the next breath, Rupert, he admitted that the past 4 years have been very stressful due to uncertainty and stress of the litigation and finding out certain things that have really, really hurt. So it's like he constantly contradicts himself. These people don't know what they're talking about. I love my life, but the last few years have been really, really stressful. It's like you're such a freaking idiot. Do you
Well, I don't.
not know?
Like, calm down, as they say in one of the comedy shows over here. But anyway, this is the point. He is a contradiction within every sentence. Yes, he can say, right, I'm really happy. I'm living in this. Of course, he's going to look happy living in this a very expensive villa with everything catered and done for, and rows of people looking after you, just like they do. You're in the royal household. He's the one from the get-go who's created the fuss, and he has driven it forward. And every time he's tried to do something with it, whether it be with these court cases, he's had the kickback. And then it comes back. He's here this week. Was there a security issue? No. Did he go to Ukraine where there's a security, involved in a war? No. He went and put himself out there. The security issue is a complete deflection, but he created it.
Mhm.
He could have come here and with no difficulty with his family, people plan a holiday. You don't spontaneously when you've got children say, right, we're going now. It's not always not like that. So he would know, right, they're not at school, we've got time, we'll bring them over in August. Easy enough. Then you go up to Balmoral, there's a natural security element run there. What's there to worry about?
Yeah.
This is what I don't understand. It once again comes to the fact that sometimes there ain't too much going on between the two ears.
Right. Well, let's keep with that theme. In a display of self-righteous hypocrisy for which Harry and Meghan have sadly become known, Harry leaned on Meghan's mantra that telling the truth is the most effective way to live, insisting she had told him to just stick to the truth. Who would be stupid enough to lie? Well, apparently you two. The irony is staggering. In one TV interview, Meghan claimed she and Harry had been married secretly in their garden
Yeah.
days before the official Windsor Castle ceremony. Within weeks, the Archbishop was forced to contradict them. The legal wedding was on the Saturday, he confirmed, adding that anything earlier was merely a private exchange of vows without legal standing. For a couple who rail against the press for lies,
Mm.
it was both galling and hilarious to see them broadcast a flat out falsehood to millions of such proportions that it left even the church scrambling to issue corrections. In a further scarcely credible act of foolishness, which sadly can no longer be written off as youthful idiocy, Harry appears to have visited President Zelensky against the express wishes of the British government. The Guardian says Harry disappeared for an hour for the meeting. The British government had made it known to Zelensky it would rather he did not. That was the chat in diplomatic circles,
Mm.
at least. The theory was that giving the rebel royal a platform might not be smart politics on a day that Britain's new foreign secretary was also in town. And that Tom Sykes says, classic Harry, really. The British government asks him not to do something, but he knows better and goes off and does it anyway. How incredible that Harry, just 48 hours after he was getting the first good reviews he's had in 5 years, has managed to blow it all over again. Like what?
Yeah.
Like chef's kiss, chef's kiss.
Well, as we've said, this is an example. He thinks he is the only one, his view. He matters more than anybody else. And I think the most important person there, okay, he's going to see the service men and women. That should have been the focus. President Zelensky, if I'm not mistaken, has quite a lot on his plate at the moment. And, the British Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, was there. She should have been the one having the private meeting with Zelensky, because I don't know whether when he comes to this country, whether she's met him. I assume she did and would have done as Home Secretary prior to this appointment. Um, I just, again, if whatever happened in that mystery hour, and if they say it was Zelensky and the British government did say we'd rather you didn't, then he should, and the royal family should do the bidding and do the bidding. And that's the whole point. With discussions, the royal household have discussions with the British government because, in a way, they are the the front facing PR element of UK PLC, and they do their government's bidding. And if the British government said he shouldn't go and he did go there, then that is very wrong of him. I don't know. We don't know the exact facts. That
I
is what's
think
been.
that I think what the British government did not want was the private meeting with Zelensky. He's gone before. They know he's going to go. I don't think the British
Yeah,
government had an issue with him physically being there. I
yeah,
think
no.
the issue was the private meeting with Zelensky. You don't represent us. We don't have we don't have regular communication with you, so it's not like we expect you to pick up the phone and give us a brief of your meeting with Zelensky. You don't know your ass from a hole in the ground, so we really don't trust you to be speaking to world leaders. I mean, I think that there are a million reasons why. I mean, you've recently sued us, the British government.
Yeah.
So like I don't think that there's any reason why Harry would think that that was an appropriate thing to do. Yeah.
He thinks he's above it all.
But
Even,
that was my argument
yeah.
this all last week when I was saying I felt like he was trying to force the half in, half out royal world.
Well, yeah, definitely tried to do that, and that was a quasi-royal tour last week. Okay, he went to see his chosen charities. I don't have a problem with that, but it was given that sort of I'm on tour, like William's going somewhere else. It was almost like this is what used to happen, but actually, so when it gets reported to just as a fact, it looks like he's just doing what he's always done.
Mhm.
So that is the half in, half out thing, but it's under his on his watch, and I don't have a problem what he's there to promote those charities. Don't have a problem with that. But it's the follow up that is always the problem with Harry because he leaves a sour taste in the mouth once he goes and does them because somehow stories get out there and get out there very quickly, and I don't know who is necessarily which one of the team of the married couple is responsible for turning on the taps and letting everything out. But I think we have a pretty good idea
It might
because
rhyme with
obviously,
Schmeg and Schmarkle.
well, and then obviously there is her commercial element of this. So he's back in the news, and look at me, I'm with Harry. I I don't know. Obviously, I'm in Britain. I've seen how it's been reported here. It probably, given what's been going on in the States this last week,
It
didn't
didn't make
even
it to,
register,
yeah.
wouldn't have registered on any level. So it's very much a British response to what's gone on because obviously it's something that's played here. Clearly, events of the last week have been extensively reported over here amongst everything else. But actually, when you think what's happened in America as opposed to this is trivial sideshow. But Harry just adds to the problem of his own making by making these statements. And actually, he would have been the perfect week to come into Britain, shake a few hands at his charities, go to Ukraine, and then zip it. But
Hmm.
no.
Well, I'm Team Prince William. That's how I play this. I'm Team Prince William. I understand why William wants nothing to do with him. He continues to prove himself untrustworthy. And, I wanted to believe some of the reports that he was feeling guilt over his behavior between Spare and the Netflix docuseries, um, because of Catherine's cancer and
Mm.
the King's cancer. But he's proven that those reports are wrong and that he doubled down and um, has, when Spare was coming out, when the Netflix docuseries was coming out, we don't mention it enough that this is not just an institution, it's a family. And it was a family that was grieving the death of both Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth. And they were being hit with these allegations and hit with all of these horrible things. So I really sympathize with Prince William and Catherine, and I'm disappointed in King Charles for giving Harry the time of day, because one of the reasons why the media responded to it as a royal tour was because he got his daddy's endorsement when his daddy met with him last week.
Um, okay. Um, I'm I'm just trying to look at it as a straight father-son thing. But yes, if you look at the bigger picture, it does look like I'm in town and he's happy that I've gone to, well, Chad, I mean, he's got no reason to be unhappy, but it's the follow-up that probably might be leaving the king with a sour taste in his mouth. And for William and Kate, they need to be seen to be back on the road because we can't. There have been some articles suggesting that the King needs William to really get back out there and do it again. But it's a balancing act, and it's complicated how William now manages going forward. But we did see him out last week.
A
We'll see
lot.
him this week. And
Yeah.
we saw Kate out back doing what she does, and going to Suffolk and going to things that, are very much what she feels comfortable doing. Okay, we've got Meghan doing bookbinding, and then we get Kate going in that series. But Kate goes and Catherine goes and visits a silk, a very high end silk making, scarf making, and print making, really technical and interesting, and highlighting skilled labor, and high crafts, and that ability to put the hair in the bun within a nanosecond. That's what you're doing next week when we record the program. You're going to start and saying, just for you, I've got to show you how quickly. But I think from a perspective, it's good to see them back out, but whatever they were doing was going to be overshadowed. That's fine.
Yeah, I
Harry's
mean,
now
we
gone.
like that's like it. If we're really talking bigger picture,
Mm.
William and Catherine are going to be king and queen one
Yeah,
day. I mean, Harry
yeah. And
overshadowing
he is the
whatever.
serious one.
Yeah.
And he has to be the serious one. This is a role that requires a commitment, dedication, and a serious approach. You can't be seen to being, you know, Mr. Jokey. Okay, we saw him do that trailer for a program and all that sort of stuff, the jokey side, but he's not in a position to do, exactly what he likes. So it is a serious, and the transition, he's got to learn quickly, from once his grandmother died, and then his father does get diagnosed with cancer, and that's always going to be a worrying time because you won't know how it's going to progress. So for William, these are very, emotionally testing times for him too. So he needs to be allowed to get on with it without the sideshow of his brother's soap opera. And last week, given what's happened following the visit, it has turned it into a soap opera, which I think is the sad fact. It shouldn't have been. It should have been a positive, and if he'd shut himself up for a bit, then his PR might have taken on a bit of a more positive hue than what we're saying now. I'm sure some people will disagree with us about that and saying it was fantastic what he did last week. I'm not saying it wasn't. It's what he's done since coming back from Ukraine that we've now seemed to almost be hearing what everything happened. And that's the annoying thing about it.
Yeah, agree. All right, agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And wish Rupert a safe trip to the States in the comments below. Thanks.
Well, I'm going to be watching some show jumping with a fabulous view of the Statue of Liberty this week.
I have the
Uh,
Statue of Liberty on my fingernails.
right, very good. Well, I won't be doing that. if you don't mind. But I will be watching show jumping for the first, and then this time next week when I talk to you, I shall be gearing up for the Ryder Cup, which is probably something you know absolutely nothing about, but it is the biggest golf event in the world where
Oh,
Team
yeah.
Europe take on and people like there's a showbiz element to it. Brooklyn Beckham is going to be playing right in the celebrity pro-am that they're having
Oh, do
before
they
the
not have
Ryder
do
Cup.
they not have a Nepo baby category for Brooklyn and Prince Harry to play or
Yeah.
America's favorite
Well,
Nepo babies?
Catherine Zeta-Jones is playing in it, but you know she's a creditable actress, so she's playing. She does love her golf. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah.
But I will be talking to you from Long Island next week.
All right. Thanks so much, Rupert.